Buongiorno tutti. Welcome to the podcast without a name. As of now, I'm Joseph, and
I like the Joe and Brian show. I think that should be our podcast name, the Joe and Brian show.
sure, Joe and Brian Show is a totally acceptable name. But once again, still in the works, and we only deliver the best to our people. So that's what we got for you. So I guess as a general introduction, I'm Joseph. I'm a lifelong. I can't even really say lifelong, but I'm an Inter fan to varying degrees. I suffer with this team through the good and through the bad, and I'm happy to be a part of this journey. But after years of watching Serie A, I figured it was time for a nice, young, fresh take on the league, and I brought my friend Brian, and here we are to you guys today.
Yeah, so I'm Brian, and I'm not a lifelong Milan fan, but I am a Milan fan as much as one can be living in the U.S. I keep up with them. Joe and I have actually been to Milan, and we've both seen both of our teams play, and that was an awesome experience. But I try to keep up with them as much as I can. All right, yeah, you guys won a lot that year, but listen, this is actually it's not our year, but maybe next year it'll be our year.
If there's one thing we've learned is there's always a new season.
Yep, there's always the next game until there isn't a game.
Well, all right, that's our general overview of who we are and what we're doing here. So I guess to start things off here, we'll go into our first segment here, and we're just going to talk about the first match week of Serie A. In the coming weeks, we'll like to provide a transfer update with formalized predictions, but I believe it's hard to diagnose a Scudetto winner without properly seeing the full team. So that's my general opinion, at least.
Yeah, I've never understood people making the league predictions before the transfer markets close. I get it, you want to do it before the season starts because technically it'd be cheating, but who cares if you all just start at week 2? It's not like the table at week 2 looks like what it looks like at week 38.
Oh, that's true.
Just start a little later. Just wait for the transfers because transfers change so much. It changes a whole team, and it could all be last minute.
I don't know if you've heard this at all, but there's been a lot of upset coaches in the league, and I think just in Europe in general. And the general petition is to have the transfer window end before the season begins. And this point's been talked about a lot, but I think in my own perspective, I actually don't hate that idea at all. I also understand where it's useful, though, to have an extended transfer window.
Yeah, it makes sense. I remember when they first implemented it in the Prem. I guess in Europe, it was interesting because it was it makes sense for, probably the same reasons you agree. That, in case someone gets injured, you can buy a player that you need. Or let's just say you just do need that little bit of extra time just to figure out how the system works and what kind of players you need. It allows you that time, which is great. But now we have, issues look at Isaac, Liverpool, and Newcastle. That game was super high aggression. The tackle, and there was a red card. And the game barely ended as a win for Liverpool, even though they had, the man advantage. It because we had an extra long transfer market because the Club World Cup.
Sure.
I would have totally been it's completely justified if they had decided this transfer market is going to end earlier because it started earlier, and so it would be closed before the season. Obviously, they're not going to do that, but if they had done that, agreed upon that, that would have been amazing. I think it would have been much better than what we have right now.
And I'll tell you what, I think this is going to be a conversation to go on for many years because, as we know in the world of football, it's very difficult for everybody to agree. And I believe last I heard, it was La Liga who was against it. And I believe the primary reason for them not wanting to was because of their issues with player registrations. I don't exactly know the specifics and the technicalities of how it works in La Liga.
La Liga are some sticklers. I'll give you that. There's some sticklers, and and there are teams. So, for example, Sunderland just signed this really good center back from I can't even remember what team. I think it was Villarreal, and it was a promising center back, and they basically sold him for peanuts because in order for them to register just 16 to 17 players, they couldn't have him, and the La Liga's approach is often just, if you can't do it, sell. If you can't do it, sell. They're negligent. They don't want to be involved, which I can understand why. Okay, sure, but you need to support these clubs.
I think
And
specifically in La Liga, I mean, not to speak too poorly upon it, but it is a team heavily dominated by the top teams. I mean, not as bad as the Bundesliga, of course, but there's definitely a hierarchy there. And those lower level teams, I think currently Sevilla only have like 14 or 15 registered players, which is like shameful.
it is crazy, and it doesn't help these teams. Like these teams who are, and La Liga is a tough team, like tough league.
Oh, for
like,
sure. I hate playing La Liga teams. I think as a Serie A fan, the natural weakness to Catenaccio and all these other wonderful forms of Italian football is Spanish football.
It's crazy though, because I can't really sit down and watch La Liga.
No.
Well, I can't watch Bundesliga like that, and I can't. I mean, sometimes Serie A really gets underneath my skin.
It can. It definitely can.
Brave face it. La Liga, I have the benefit, the pleasure, truly the gift, the blessing from God himself to be a Barcelona fan and watch Hansi Flick, which is phenomenal. But if I had to watch like Serie A every week, day in day out, just tanking every season, it would be rough.
No, I can
It
imagine.
would be rough.
I can imagine. But yeah, transfer market debacle. It's always going to be a thing, and like I said, we'll get into the details of transfers and all that in our later episodes, of course. But yeah, we wanted to give you guys a nice baseline as to the first week of Serie A, and I guess to jump into that, we can go through our initial matches.
So, I mean, the first game was the Genoa versus Lecce. That ended 0-0. Respectfully, if you're listening to this somehow and you're a Genoa or a Lecce fan, I don't give a fuck.
Respect to Lecce, my boys from Southern Italy. I hope you stay up. I'm looking at your team right now. It is not going to make it, but I really do hope and pray. I love Camarda and I'm not a Milan fan, of course. So I'm gonna emphasize this every opportunity I get. But you know what? I'm glad that they took the opportunity to play him. He got 83 minutes. Obviously, that's a result of Krstovic leaving in the last weeks of the transfer market, and it was a mad dash. But another player I actually like to speak to, another former Milan striker, we have Lorenzo Colombo as well.
Colombo, yeah, I signed him for a sick career mode, sold him for a ton of money.
I've done the same.
Colombo.
Shout out to Colombo. Hey. But there are some very interesting players, I would say, on both of these teams. One I've actually been a fan of is Vasquez. He's a left-footed Mexican center back. He's been in the league for multiple years now. Name to watch. I don't know if he's a huge prospect by any means, but definitely an interesting player. Freund, he was linked to Inter and many other teams throughout the season, and transfer window as well. He's about a $25-30 million
26.
player. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about age.
Oh, no. How old is he? 24, according to my stats.
Vasquez? No, he's 26.
No, sorry, not Vasquez. Freund.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, amongst both these teams, some very interesting players. Obviously, the Inter, Carboni, one of the many Carbonis and Espositos we got scattered across the league.
Yeah, you guys have like every twin or sibling pairing that there is.
I like it. I like it. I think it's a good thing.
Why? So you buy two and then you keep the better and sell the shittier one?
Well, I think it's one of those things where it's like, all right, you get the older one. This is the baseline, right? And then the younger ones can only be better or worse, But if they're worse, you already have the main guys. So I kind of see it. I'm sure from an agent perspective, it's like, hey, if you sign me, you got to sign my brother. You know how it works in Italy. There's a lot of, special deals that happen. So I could definitely see that playing a factor in it. But yeah, some very interesting players on both teams. It ended 0-0, a not so interesting game. Not much to say on this, to be totally fair.
I mean, the only interesting thing that I can see right now, just from glancing at the stats, is that Genoa created a big whopping 0 big chances. Nothing.
Well,
big whop.
Big whop. Big whop. It's the thing affecting Italian football.
They had half an expected goal, which was the higher of the two teams. I mean, Lecce had .37, so I mean, even though they had more shots and they had one big chance, and through looking at the momentum graph, it kind of looked like they dominated, although they only had 41 possession. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I will say this: Patrick Vieira, obviously a great player. As far as managers go, he was linked to Inter in the summer. grazie a Dio that he is not at my club. I think he is a great coach, young, could do wonderful things, but nowhere near a top team. Give him another season with Genoa. And if he finishes above 10th place, that would surprise me. So congratulations if that happens. Eusebio Di Francesco, you know what you're getting, and you're not going to like what you're getting. So that's all I have to say about him.
Well, with Vieira, I really did think that by now he would have been at like a Premier League club. Because wasn't he at Marseille not that long ago?
Yeah, he was at Nice, Crystal Palace, Strasbourg, and now Genoa.
And so he didn't do great at Crystal Palace.
Well, I will say he's doing just as good as Crystal Palace as he's done at every one of his other clubs. He was averaging 1.4 points at Nice, 1.2 at Crystal, 1.3 at Strasbourg, and then 1.3 at Genoa. So
you know what you're getting.
You
with
know
Patrick
what you're
Vieira.
getting. You know what? You're a mid-table team, and you want a mid-table manager. I think you found your candidate.
Oh shit! Don't tell Milan. They'll hire him
Don't
real
tell
quick.
Milan. Well, we can get into Milan and Allegri and all that wonderful thing. But before we go on,
yeah,
sorry.
I was just gonna say that I really thought that he would have matured as a manager by now. And although he's technically still a young manager, kind of.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing too bad either.
Yeah, so hopefully, I would like to see, retired players who become managers eventually flourish in that part of the game as well, tactically. But it's a hard job, so, sometimes it's not for you. Not everyone's Pep.
No. Thankfully, it'd be a dark world if everybody was Pep. I would say, moving on to our next game in Serie A Round 1, we have Sassuolo and Napoli. Napoli. As a Italian-American Napolitano myself, I, seeing Napoli win a league doesn't upset me as it would to see a Juve win, a Milan win, But Napoli winning, two Scudetto. A Juve win is scary. It's scary.
A Juve win is bad for the economy. That's what that is.
Yeah, a Juve win because that's 10 years of inflation in the league, and you just can't give them one because these people, they just don't get rid of themselves. You give them one Scudetto, they can't bounce it to Napoli for a season. No, it just becomes these torment runs, and I'm just happy to say that I'm watching Italian football in an era where Juve has not won 9 Scudetto in a row as of right now. So that makes me happy. But on to the details of the game here. Very straightforward from Napoli, very clean. With Lukaku's injury, Lorenzo Luca, the new signing from Udinese, who had a very good season. I think this man is going to become a beast under Conte. His first game wasn't anything spectacular, but then again, new player, new system, surprise start as well. I think there's a lot of factors that can contribute to that, but overall, I think Lorenzo Luca is going to be a very promising player. I think he sits at a staggering 6'9" or 6'7", for those of you who use that system of measurement, or 201 centimeters, for all you guys out there. So
okay.
So yeah, we got him. Obviously, De Bruyne, he caught a goal, which is lovely to see. Excited to see him in Serie A, to say the honest truth with you. He's a little old, of course, and I think during the preseason, lots of jokes were made about him looking like Burger Man and, eating too many sfogliatelle and all these, typical things. But you know what? He's a class player. He's going to remain class, and I'm excited to see more of him.
I was a little disappointed I saw at first that De Bruyne got a goal through fantasy, and I was like, oh, awesome, great. And then I saw the goal, and I was like, okay, like, whatever. But first game, obviously McTominay scored, because why wouldn't he?
He did have a beautiful shot that I believe that just got tipped over the crossbar, if I can recall correctly.
Literally Maradona. He starts on the wing, goes in when it's important, scores. Like, he's playing the Maradona role. De Bruyne, I'm excited to see him in the league. He didn't, Conte didn't start Lukaku.
No, Lukaku's injured. Lukaku is injured for the next 2 or 3 months, which is why I think this is an interesting opportunity for Lorenzo Luca, where I think he was going to initially be phased in as a substitute, impact off the bench. Now, he's been forced into a starting position, but I will say this, Napoli's Mercato is not yet done. So, it's hard to make judgments at this point as to how the rest of the league will shape up. But at least for this game, Napoli kept it very controlled, very calm. McTominay with a goal, of course, and for those of you who participate in Serie A Fantasy, it's a no-brainer. Pick him up, of course. And some new players for Napoli as well. They signed Milinkovic-Savic, who I think will be a very interesting option for them. I wonder if he will start over Meret. I think we all know Meret is a very, Mr. Butterhands himself. So we'll see how much.
I like him.
Yeah.
I like him.
I like him as Sassuolo.
Him and Karnashevsky.
Let me tell you something about
Karnasecki.
We'll get to him when we talk about Atalanta, but that man, incredible talent.
For the team and for the league.
For sure. Napoli did have some other new signings. We saw Noah Lang. He got his debut. See this guy, Antonio Vagara. I don't know anything about him, and I assume that we won't hear much about him. He got 1 minute. And Conte's never been known for his love of the youth, so you never really know how these things are going to shape up. Bakumba will eventually start playing. I imagine he'll take place of either Rahmani, and I assume he'll probably start next Buongiorno, but I guess that'll shape up throughout the season, and we'll see ultimately.
I got a question for you.
Tell me.
Do you think this Sassuolo team stays up?
Oh, yeah. I think you just got to look at the squad. A lot of players you already know. Tirati, who, he did, provide a beautiful goal to, I believe it was DiMarco. Former Inter player, I believe in the youth systems, or just a fan himself. One of those guys who's young, who could be good, but kind of inconsistent. I think out of Sassuolo, he'll do okay. They have this Bosnian, which is always interesting, Tariq. However, I'm not even going to try. So, Tariq over here, 22-year-old center back. He did very good in Serie A B last year. Sassuolo vetted him. They decided he was enough to stay. So, I think he's a decent signing. Danning Doig, great player from Scotland. Baloka, Romanian.
What? What?
Oh, no. You know what? I don't have enough to say about him, but he's 26. He's been in Serie A. He's been in Serie A B. Not somebody I think you would love in your midfield. Lipani, though, interesting name. He's a younger Italian. He got some games in last year for Sassuolo. This Kone guy, I don't know enough about, so I will not speak. Pinomonti. Now, Pinomonti, we all know about Pinomonti. I think the Mountain, if I'm going to use a proper name for him, has all the potential to be a great striker, but he won't be a great striker, unfortunately. I think you could expect at this Sassuolo team 10 goals from him, and that would be pretty good, and I think that's all you could expect. Now, Loriente, great player, paired up with Berardi on the other wing. I think those two in that front three are a very viable threat compared to most teams in that relegation zone. So if we're being premature here, I think Sassuolo definitely stays up. Obviously, from that game alone, they didn't look great. But I like Fabio Grosso, and I'm willing to trust in him.
Yeah, it's just I look at this team, and I like Lorient, whatever, Armand, whatever. Pinamonte, yeah, I see what you're saying, but does Berardi still have it?
Yeah,
Berardi, does he still have it?
Here's what Berardi's gonna do. If you have a set piece, if you have a free kick, if you have a penalty, you have Berardi. And I think in Serie A, when we're talking about a league where there's not too many goals, and a lot of goals come from very special moments, whether that be a set piece or just a moment of brilliance, I think having a player like Berardi, even at what is he now, 31, still young enough that he could play in this league and be impactful. And, just to say this, he is the modern Di Natale, not from a skill standpoint by any means, but just throughout, sheer loyalty to a club. I respect him immensely. I've always been a Berardi fan. I think for many seasons we expected him to move, especially after all the transfer requests. But that being said and done, he's at Sassuolo now till he's like 37 or something. So, he'll be here.
Oh, he's not far away from that. So.
Yeah, no. So I say Sassuolo survive, and don't expect too much, but don't expect nothing. Young players, as always, they love to bring them up. So I think some interesting talents will be brought forth.
This team does look refreshed, especially the defense.
For sure.
The defense looks so much more refreshed, so young.
Back in the day, it was Ferrari and...
it was bad, and Ferrari was not fast.
He was not. There were some other guys, too, but their names evade me, probably for the better. And yeah, I think Sassuolo is what you see is what you get.
That's fair. So what was the game after that one?
All right.
Was it
I gotta pull up my sheet here. So we got now. This has been my favorite game of the match week, besides Inter, of course. Milan Cremonese. I'll let Brian take the lead on this one.
So this summer, we've had a lot of outgoings, a whole reconstruction of the club, basically, and it's what can I do? I can only sit, idly and watch. I can hope for the best, and I haven't. I've been pessimistic because I'm scarred.
Sure.
I don't
We're all
trust this organization. I don't trust Milan. I don't trust. They gave Zlatan too big of a role and too big of a mouth, and he did and said too much. And now we had to put him in his place. And sure, he's around, and I'm sure he'll do whatever made-up job he does. But I have no faith in anyone who wears a suit in that club. Truly, no one.
Let me say one thing on that. There is one man in Milan in a suit who I do trust, and his name is Tare. I believe he's an Albanian man. Now, Tare, he's been around the league a lot. I'm pretty sure he was at Lazio. We can confirm that later. But Tare is a great sporting director, and I think Milan made some very interesting signings. I like his Stupinian.
They did.
Outgoings, we could talk about this to a degree, but I think when you factor in, Teo Hernandez leaving, I didn't really rate Shaw all that much, but when you consider what he's done in outgoings from a revenue perspective, yes, Teo is a little low. Reidner's might have been a little low, but he's also been able to get rid of some players that aren't very important. So I think from a revenue perspective, he's done great. Replacing these players, we'll see how that works out, of course.
I'm hopeful because Milan tend to make smart decisions in the transfer market. If we're kind of good at one thing, it's getting a really good player and then selling them on. We've done that, rinse and repeat. I mean, look at Tonali. I mean, I miss him every day. I see him in a Newcastle jersey, and I miss him. And I still and then what they do, they did it again. They did it again with Reinders. It's like okay, and I've learned to sort of control, how I feel and just trust that the replacements that they bring in are, actually top quality. Because before, 2 seasons ago, if you were like Reinders is going to be a baller playing in the Prem, scoring on his debut,
I would have laughed.
Who is
personally.
that? Yeah, who is that? Who is this rando? But I have to give credit. I have to give them their flowers that Milan do have a pretty good, vast resourceful knowledge of the market. Just picking out these gems. They
playing
signed,
that money ball.
They signed this Zachary Atikame, whatever. He plays in the Swiss league, right? And he's Swiss, but he's like a right back. And
I have not heard of this guy. Interesting.
Right,
Young boys. Okay.
Latest signing, yeah. And when you look at his stats, there's nothing really that impressive for a fullback, except he's in the 99th percentile for interceptions. He's in the 99th percentile for blocks and the 97th percentile for clearances. And this is based off FBref. So this takes all the data from the top five leagues, UCL, UEL, all that stuff. And then the last 365 days, interceptions, blocks, clearances, basically one of the best in Europe at it. And so I see this as an Allegri. Well, I don't know if Allegri has his hand in the pot like this, but I see them buying him more as a center back than a right back because he's not creating anything really.
Well,
I mean,
the only reason I'll disagree with you is he's 5'9", and his aerial winning percentage isn't sensational. To be totally fair,
it's low. It's low.
So if you're playing a back three, on the right of a back three, I could see that. I could also see him at right wing back. I think it depends. I think the best way to evaluate a 20-year-old like that coming from the Swiss league is a better signing, considering that Milan were up until 2 weeks ago going into the season with, I believe, Pobega was the dream at left back, and that was all they had. And I think that issue has thankfully been resolved for them. It would be a poor league to watch with Pobega at left back, to say the least.
No, you make a good point. I didn't realize that, but he is young, so hopefully they can, they see the potential and they think they can mold him into something.
For sure, and I think, funny enough, to bring up a battle of the X's, this game was littered with it today. Bonazzoli, former Inter player. I'm pretty sure I can't exactly recall the game. It might have been against U of A, it might have been against Milan, but Bonazzoli scored a bicycle kick against one of those teams before, and I do recall this moment. And as a player who, I think he actually had a decent run when he was at Salernitana, had a 10-goal season. Besides that, typically, though, he is not a remarkable player by any means, but that man loves a sensational goal.
Well, hold on. Let's finish covering the game first, then.
That's true.
So, Milan, they go and they buy all these players. And what does Allegri do? He doesn't start most of them. He doesn't sign Jassiri.
Jassiri, yeah.
We signed him for, what, like 36 million? We don't even start him. He does come on in the second half, and look at that. Things look a little better when he comes on.
Also, no Ricci.
No Ricci. I don't know what that's about.
Once again, I think first game, Allegri's seeing what he has, trying to put out the most experienced 11 he can.
Yeah, I think that's partly what it was. Obviously we had no layout. Get that. Happens. But I think he was like, I want, I guess, quote, proven, like, Serie A experience. I think he was trying to muscle the game. I think he realized that having Santi Jimenez probably wasn't enough muscle, and that's why he went with Fofana and Loftus-Cheek. But those players just weren't creating. Fofana going forward is, he takes the shots that you would want basically anyone else to have, and he every time just soars over the bar. It's annoying, it's frustrating, he should stop attacking. But he finds himself in these attacking positions, which means I would take any other player in that position but him. So, I think Allegri got it wrong. I think he went with too much muscle, and it didn't work out. We needed Jassiri to probably come in and start the game, and maybe we have those big, strong muscles to finish it off and close it out. But I think Allegri got it wrong. And all credit to Cremonese, because they saw our weaknesses, they exploited them, and what's that face? The one who manhandled Jimenez the entire game,
boy.
that muscly mother
Bashirotto. I love
God, he had his whole fist entirely in, like, it was. I saw it.
Oh yeah, he abused Jimenez. Oh.
It was bad, and I felt bad for Jimenez because he's trying his his hardest. I felt like this was a bad game to judge him because he was he's a target man, right? Of course, but they absolutely targeted him, like, in the fact that he had no opportunity to. Pashkeroto, what is he doing with all these muscles? Go pick up a heavy box or something. Go do UPS. But, like, what is he doing with all these muscles? That is ridiculous. Like, this guy shouldn't. He should be doing, like, MMA. He should be, like, it is. How is he even, like?
Yeah, no, he's built well. He's built well, and if I am selecting a center back, I would choose him. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah, it was frustrating to watch this game.
And I will say, he went for only like $3 million from Lecce. It was a very nominal fee and I always thought he was pretty decent. I didn't think he was like an elite level player at 28 years old. That being said, but I mean, solid player. You saw him today. Absolutely wanted it. He wanted the win. I think Cremonese, when they had the opportunity, they took it, and for them, I give them all the respect.
So, yeah, of course, I believe it was Cremonese who scored first. Bashkeroto, he scored like a header. He, absolutely just manhandled his way through the box and scored. Fair play. We need to be better with that. Then, Estupinian, who has been playing basically terribly all game. He's not positionally where he's supposed to be yet. And I think he's struggling with the new system. And I get it, new league. I'll give him some time. I am
but still
kind of
grabbed
excited
an assist.
for it.
Respect on that.
That is the crazy part. He played terribly, and just with the very basically last kick of the game, just boots it for the cross. Pavlovic is there. Bang, we're back in it. So we thought. And we're controlling the game. We got possession, but
sure, I believe Luca had a great strike on goal, and I believe got tipped over, if I recall correctly.
And Jimenez, like not the striker, but Alex Jimenez,
Yes.
the fullback, wingback. He he came on and absolutely shit the bed. I mean, like, he played good. The problem is he shit the bed when it came to defending and let Bonzaro, what's his name? Bonazzoli
Bonazzoli.
score a bicycle. Like, come on, we need to be doing better defensively.
Especially to a player
Gabia,
like Bonazzoli. No offense, I love him dearly, but yeah, that kind of level of player I think should not be in a position like that.
every time I look at the Milan team and I see Gabia, ugh, like I get like it causes me physical pain because I'm like, I don't. This is not the right direction.
Well,
This is not.
Gabia being 25 is just that's interesting to say the least. To think that he got his first glimpse in the sun for Milan in a Europa League game in 17-18. You know, we've heard about this man for too long, and
then they
I
kept
thought
him
he
in
was
the
much
dark.
older than he was. To be totally fair with you, he had a good stint at Villarreal, and then and this was in 23-24. He went to Milan, finished out the season, did pretty solid there. Overall, I don't know. One of those players. I does not command a high transfer fee. Probably more of the level of a team like Fiorentina than AC Milan. But in desperate
flourish.
times, you have desperate measures, and this is what you get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see a full strength Milan team, but this is far from it. I mean, Modric, when he played, he was pinging passes. He looked great. Everyone just wanted to give him the ball. Salemakers, he was phenomenal. He's our best player, hands down, probably besides Leao. Pulisic was trying to get into the game, but it just didn't happen. And Allegri got it wrong. And, I'm upset. Very upset.
I think you have a right to be.
Because there was a little bit of hope. I was pessimistic, but there was a little bit of hope watching this game when we had the ball. I thought maybe we'll make it happen, and it didn't, and I'm upset, but what can you do? You got to just move forward from this.
Sure,
Focus
and
on the
once
next
again,
match,
biggest
you
thing
have to win this one.
Yes, you don't want to lose against a relegation team. I think Cremonese will stay up. They have a very solid team. They got Zerbin, who I kind of rate. Terracciano, I don't really rate too much, but he had a very good game. That being said, Aldero, former Inter backup keeper, solid player of the level of Serie A, but not for a big team. So Lecce is a great spot for him. Pizzella, he's been on Atalanta, Parma, some other teams as well. So another player, nothing spectacular, but an experienced veteran in the league. And I think really Basciarotto holding down that defense. And I think they'll stay up. I think they'll have a solid season. Cremonese, if I'm correct, is owned by I believe like a mining company or some sort of industrial firm. So they have some money and they're willing to pump it in if needed.
All right, that's exciting.
Project there. Oh, and also Davide Nicola, relegation specialist. So yes, fully believe in them.
All right, and with that, swiftly on to the next game: Roma, Bologna. Gasperini finally got his goal, got his win, so he started off on,
Yeah, see, this game, I gotta be honest, lads, I was paying attention, but for reasons I'm not allowed to disclose, I was a bit distracted. But that being said, Roma looked good. Typical Roma. You didn't get to see the full identity of Gasperini. I will say, though, if you could take away a couple of positives from this game, obviously Sferiar, a great keeper, he'll hold down the fort. I think Mancini, he's a player who's always difficult to comment on because right when you criticize him, he'll do something kind of miraculous. Not bad, not a bad team. Needs a little bit more, I think, to challenge higher up in the table. But you could say Wesley had a great game. I think Soulé has great potential. Kone, another great player, and I think we saw this summer a lot of teams, Inter being one of them, and I believe some others were inquiring about him. Very interesting player. And really, though, I think from my biggest takeaway from this game was Ferguson. I think
he looked sharp.
He looked sharp. Now, granted, issues of finishing. And when we're talking about strikers, it's not necessarily something you want. But I think what he did off the ball was great. I think he showed great intensity. And that is a player I'm very excited to see. Now, I don't know how Dovbyk is going to fit into this team. he came in the 74th
Competition.
minute. Sure, I think it definitely doesn't hurt.
It's healthy. Gasparini goes, hey, you were the guy last season, but we're trying something different. If you can prove that you're still that guy, go ahead, do it. Take your chances. And I think Gasparini could get plenty of goals out of Dovbyk. I think competition is great. Who else? It's an attitude that also Højlund from Man United had, and I really appreciate that kind of attitude towards the sport and just your overall professionalism. I think it's great.
I don't know where Højlund's going, but I think if we're speculating, inevitably Serie A to one of these teams. It could be a Napoli, it could be a Milan, it could be a Juve even. So
my
expect to hear this name more.
My understanding from I believe last Fabrizio reported, I'm like a Fabrizio diehard. I don't care. Say what you want. This guy gets me my news, and he gets me my news quickly and efficiently.
Oh, Boniface, but anyway.
Boniface. Yeah, that deal didn't go through, but I believe that Højlund is going to Napoli, last reported by Fabrizio, so
but
we'll see if that goes through.
A lot of things have been reported. So we'll see ultimately what happens here. Now, I know Roma signed this guy, Enaui, or however you pronounce his name. Interesting player. He didn't get too many minutes, so hard to comment on him fully, but definitely someone to watch out for. I think considering Cristante being Cristante, I don't know.
Brian Cristante!
And I will say about this Roma team, Gasparini has worked with, not all, but a few of these players before. He's worked with Mancini, he's worked with Cristante. Now, granted, younger versions of both of them, but that gives him some comfortability. I think you could expect these guys to be starting pretty regularly. I personally liked El Shaarawy during the game. Now, stats say a different story, but I thought he was dangerous. And
I love El Shaarawy.
I know Gasparini's a fan of El Shaarawy, so don't expect him to disappear.
Oh, I hope he starts flourishing. Even at his, he's a little older. I think he's 32 now.
Sure.
I do hope that he finds somewhat consistent form.
Sure.
I think that'd be good for football heritage, for the culture.
Sure. But mamma mia, we got to talk about Bologna. I mean, these poor people. Last year, they were playing some fantastic football. They had great players. Danandoy, Bukema have left the club. Danandoy, I think, has already had a phenomenal start to the Premier League, scoring. I believe he got an assist as well. He's doing sensational. And, when you're losing such valuable players, there's nobody that can replace them unless you're Sartori and you believe that Immobile is your answer. Or, I'll top it, Bernardeschi. If you believe that these two can save you, I think Bologna is looking at a nice 10th place finish. Shameful, I would say, in the transfer market.
I don't disagree.
And I like Vincenzo Italiano as a coach. And I do think Castro, who is Santiago Castro, had a very good season last year. I would expect great things from the recent pickup on the transfer market for me as far as fantasy goes. And I will say this, I think he will shine very well this season, considering he's going to be one of the few outlets. But I think if you're looking at this team, you're starting three in the front. You're going to have Orsolini. I like Dominguez. I think we should expect to see more of him in Castro. I believe that'll be your front three for this season going forward. Paul Bega, not a lot of joy there. Silvestri starting today, 37 years old. You don't want to see that. I like Casale. I think he's a solid center back. Now Lugumi is being linked to everywhere under the sun. I believe he spoke publicly before the game and said,
Colombiano. Okay.
Yeah, he's a solid player. He's been linked around the world, so, expect
John.
late moves there. Is it John?
Colombians, yeah. Colombians love naming John, Jhon. Like you're so close. Like, it looks like you just, it's a typo, but no, that's how Colombians love spelling John.
Yeah. I like Giovanni Fabian from Bologna. He did not get a lot of minutes last year. Started a fair amount, but not enough. I think he's a great player. He strikes me as very similar to Fratesi. Not as fast, but good in the box. Scores a few headers here and there. Interesting player. Someone to keep an eye out, at least in my own perspective. And, Brian, I have to tell you this now because I kind of forgot to mention this in our little pre-show, but We'll do a cutaway segment for the audience here, but we should pick a player to watch, and I think that's something we can visit back at the end of this episode.
Are ones to watch, or how I'm referring to it as?
Yeah, ones to watch, on the list, whatever you like.
On the list. I don't want to be on any list. I don't want to be on any list that you're on.
Hey, listen, I'm not going to make the joke I was going to make. Anyway, I think we can summarize this game. Good win for Gasparini. You love to see the clean sheet. And I think this is an exciting team with an exciting project. And, the squad's been held together very well with some reinforcements, which you love to see. So I think Roma are an early contender for top 4. Who's to say they're going to get it or not? Probably 5th place is more likely, but I think we'll see.
So, sorry about that. So then, next game are the Sunday games. We have Cagliari versus Fiorentina. I watched this game.
Yeah, that lost me money. I wasn't thrilled.
By the way, I'm just gonna say this right now: do not ever take betting advice from either of us. I don't care if we tell you. I don't care if we tell you to put the house on it. I don't care if
we are not responsible, but if you do want to get involved, we all have codes, and just send us a DM and you'll
let us know.
Let us know. But do not gamble. Tap in. Do not.
No, yeah. Especially if you're like a minor, don't do that.
Yeah, just hit me up when you're 21. But until then, you think about this.
I got you on FanDuel. Type. Let me know.
All right. Anyway, Cagliari Fiorentina. See, I was very excited for this Fiorentina team, and I can't believe I was excited by Stefano Pioli, but I actually really liked Raffaello Palladino. He had disagreements with the board. He got ousted. I think he's actually somewhere floating around on the transfer market. So I say the first team to lose a coach, keep an eye out for him. Very interesting option. But yeah, Fiorentina had a good mercato. They signed Som from Parma. Solid player. Che Ndor got the start. Young Italian. You love to see that. So we'll see how he develops. He didn't have a sensational game by any means. But I will say, though, the Cagliari fans were out in force. I mean, just listening to the game, you could hear the roar from these.
It was a good atmosphere. It was very good atmosphere, and
that helps. For playing away on that island, I mean, good lord, it's a pirate island. I wouldn't want to go there.
No, for sure. And they did, challenge for possession. It was basically almost 50-50. It was 45 towards, it was 55 towards Fiorentina. And so for the listeners, the game did end 1-1 with Fiorentina scoring in around the 70th minute with Mandragora.
Now, was that a bicycle? I don't exactly recall, but it was.
It was not a bicycle.
Was it something special? I believe it was.
Was it not a header?
I thought.
Am I misremembering?
I'm not going to speak. I thought I recall seeing a
highlight. Yeah, because he came off the bench. He came off the bench and scored. I thought it was a long shot.
Yeah, no, see, typically with him, that's right in his repertoire. Because, see, guys, we're going to do a little side segment here and just talk about money laundering, because I think it's very important to mention this with Rolando Mandragora. He's one of those players, came through the youth system. I mean, you just wonder how he gets tossed from team to team. But he's made a home for himself in Fiorentina, and I give him respect. He had a great season in the Conference League last year. Very slow, beautiful left foot. Do what you want with that information regarding fantasy and some other things. But I will say, overall, Fiorentina should have won this game. Clearly, they didn't look like they should have won it, but just from a squad perspective, I had the opportunity to cash out everybody. It was the 92nd minute, and I scoffed at it, and Luperto proved me wrong. So these are the things you think about.
Yeah, so this game, Fiorentina did start pretty flat in the first half. I mean, I basically saw Moise Kean struggling to get into the game.
Sure.
Wasn't really getting many touches or helping in the build-up. Second half, I guess, they got a good shouting at, in the locker room.
Sure.
And things looked a lot better, especially after the changes were made. Fiorentina made some changes, and they brought on Mandragora, whatever he is.
Mandragora, I think. I don't know.
Oh, wow, you hit that. Mandragora. Damn. Okay, I see you. He came on. He did, in fact, score a header. It was just a cross and a header.
No,
but
underwhelming.
It looked like they were in control for most of the game, and it did look like Fiorentina were going to close it out. And then the dying embers, towards the end of the game, after Fiorentina scored,
they
just
kept
sitting
back. In the
back.
final opportunities of the match, Cagliari came to ruin my day.
No, because there was +6 of added time, and they scored in the fourth. in like, there was some time. There was a little bit of wiggle room, but after the first goal, Fiorentina just started sitting back further and further, and it gave Cagliari the opportunity to get the equalizer, especially with the crowd backing them, like you said. So, I think they're a team to watch out for whenever they play at home. But I think this was a missed opportunity for Fiorentina.
I agree. I think Camuzzo is a great player. I think Ranieri is a great player. Being linked, of course, De Gea. Take away this game, great player. I still think he'll have a good season, even at 34 years of age. Last season, he was incredible. I would argue the best keeper in the league. Gosens, you know what you're getting. Solid player. Dodo, great player. Would love him at any team, quite honestly. Fagioli, great player. We love Mr. Bean. And we also have...
Dodo is so fast.
Yeah, Dodo's
he
great.
is incredibly fast. I would watch him kill the ball, go flat, wait for the defender to be flat-footed, boom, just take off, and I'm like, there's no shot.
The man loves open
he's
space.
that fast, and he absolutely got into that open space, and I was like, holy crap, this guy is so fast.
Yeah.
He might be the
And
fastest guy in the
Dzeko.
league.
I forgot to mention this, but Dzeko did not play, but he is, as of now, a Fiorentina player. You'd love to have him back in the league. He'll bang you in about 7, I would say, this season, throughout all the different competitions.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe
yeah,
with,
I think that's fair.
assists, 10, GA, whatever. Fazzini from Empoli.
I was kind of
big
thinking
fan. Big fan of Fazzini. Once again, I've heard terrible things, but we'll see how he develops.
Okay. Next game was Como versus Lazio.
No, I didn't
watch this one super
neither did
detailed.
I did watch the highlights, which makes me qualified to speak. So
Yeah, me too. So look at that, we're experts now.
That being said, though, I saw the Nico Paz, man. Oh.
The Nico Paz show. That's what it is. This is his world. We're all just,
we're all living in it.
Nobody.
At 20 years of age, lit Serie A on fire last year. Tottenham offered 70 million, I believe, today or yesterday. Denied by Como. They're a serious club with serious owners based in Indonesia. They're going to do great things. And I do want to bring up a point, now that we're speaking about Como and Fabregas, who's a great coach. Because we can't speak too much about the game, we'll talk about the situation surrounding them. I think that's fair to say. Fabregas spoke about the lack of Italian players present in the team. And I believe if we check from the starting 11 here, none were Italian.
I was unaware of that. That's an interesting point.
And he mentioned this. He goes, don't get me wrong, like, this is Italy. He goes, I love Italy. I love Italians. I think they're great players. And he goes, if I saw an opportunity for one, I would sign one. But he goes and says this. He goes, the Italians would love to play for top teams in Italy. I think that's clear to say. Inter, Milan, Juve, most of the talent, to a degree, depending on the team, of course, does get cycled to those teams, and teams like Como, who have very good projects, maybe aren't seen as desirable, right? But I think there's a larger issue in Italian football that, we'll bring on our Azzurri expert Francesco when international break occurs, and I believe he could speak a little bit more about the Azzurri, and we can get into that later. But I think if Fabregas is saying he can't find young prospects, it's a concern that we all should hold deep into our hearts. But yes, Paz had a great assist leading to the goal, and then he had another great goal. I believe it was a free kick that he scored. Sensational player. Very excited to watch Como this season.
Yeah, Madrid always seem to find these absolute superstars. And
they don't find them, they make them.
I wouldn't say make. More so find. They're not really in the market of making. They're not, like teams with good academies, they make players. Madrid, they go, oh, I like this, and they buy it. And then they leave them alone until they're actually good, if they become good. And then they go, come back. And they always come back. They always come crawling back. It's sad.
Because a la Madrid, like, what are you going to do?
Boo, Visca Barça. Anyway, so this game, I expected Lazio to fight back a little bit more. They didn't. Cuomo cleared, but what can you do? Because it's Nico Paz and Fabregas, and Fabregas might be low-key the best manager in the league.
I will say, well, no, there's Conte, but do not judge Lazio solely off of this Como game. You can judge them a lot. I think we can, and we'll have plenty of weeks to judge Lazio. Unfortunately, they had a transfer ban due to liquidity issues. I'm not going to get into it because I don't know enough to speak about the finances of this team. But all I know is, who is their owner? No, I can't think of it. It's not Caro. That's Torino. It's not De Laurentiis. Who is that animal that runs that club?
Oh God, probably an American, right?
No. He's dirty. Claudio Lotito. Oh my God. I'm happy I forgot about his name. This man's an absolute villain. Good luck buying anybody from Lazio, not just this year, but any year, truthfully.
Well, okay, inform me and the listeners. Who is this guy?
I think this is a great opportunity to create a segue here for a future episode about the craziest Italian football owners and stories surrounding these sorts of players. Obviously, De Laurentiis has his fair share of clips, and so does Cairo. Just to mention
Jamie,
one.
write that down. Jamie, write that down.
We can write that down for sure. But yeah, Cairo, he was the owner of Torino, and I believe this was, let's say 5-6 years back. Belotti was an emerging striker, great prospect, had 20 goals or so in the league, and clubs were coming across Europe asking, please, let us sign him. And then Cairo goes and says his famous statement, "I'll sell him only for 100 million euro." And Belotti, I think, left on a free transfer. So that's what you're working with. and I would argue that Lotito runs a very similar ship. So Lazio, overall, I like Sarri. I respect Sarri. I like Zaccagni. I think Tavares is a great player. I actually like Delabashuru. I think he was really interesting last year. I don't think this team is terrible, but I think the lack of transfers doesn't help them.
I'm excited for Tavares. I think he was a bright spot. He was a bright spot last year, and I think he'll continue to be so this year. I even got him in the fantasy, so fingers crossed.
I don't like to see Provedel starting. I'm actually a big fan of Mandas. He is their Greek backup keeper, very solid player. I think we'll see more of him in the future, or at least we hope to.
I feel like Fabregas could steal one of these Italian keepers. There's a few of them floating around, and they're all low-key kind of quality. I think he could probably snatch one of these guys up. Help with that identity of the team.
But these are issues for later, and I think as the market continues, you'll come to find more younger guys coming through. But yeah, since we didn't watch the game, that's all we're going to say about them.
Atalanta, Pisa.
I tuned in for like 5 seconds of this.
Yeah, I didn't catch this one either. Sorry, guys.
We're gonna summarize like this, basically. So, Atalanta gave up an own goal. I can't exactly recall who was on.
The game ended 1-1, and based off that, it's like, whoa, Atalanta underperformed. Yeah, they kind of did. Like Atalanta.
Also, new coach. You've had Gasperini for, I don't know, near a decade. It's going to take some time. And,
I get it.
And Ivan Juric, though, has not had the best spell as a manager. I actually believe his previous job at Southampton was 2-1-13. 2 wins, 1 draw, 13 losses. The worst manager in the history of the Premier League. Now, not to disrespect him, I think he's his fault. It's not his fault. Not his fault. But Roma.
Well, I mean, it is because he's the manager. It's always going to be his fault. But there were too many other factors at play there, and this guy is a proven Serie A guy
and the disciple of Gasperini. So I think
it makes sense.
It makes sense. So let's not judge like a lot of this. It's week 1, but just to roughly talk about Atalanta, they signed Zalewski from Inter for 17 million. We paid 6 for him, I believe, in June. So, great transfer fee. You love to see it. Scamacca, great goal. Love to see Scamacca score.
So the game ended. The game ended 1-1 with Scamacca scoring, and then Atalanta had the own goal. But Scamacca should have had like a hat trick. He had a bundle of opportunities.
Sure.
I mean, this whole team, there were a lot of opportunities.
Daniele Maldini also had a great opportunity, if I recall. And,
Hey, that's all I'm saying.
A guy
Keep
to watch.
An eye out.
A guy to watch. Maybe that'll be an episode. I don't know.
Oh, look at the last name. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's in the blood. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah, overall, I will say one guy I want to give note to is Idrissa Torre. I was watching Serie A last year, not the games, of course, because that's a little much to ask for one man, but Idrissa Torre, interesting player, had a great season last year. Excited to see how he transfers over into Serie A, but a name to keep an eye out on.
German international in the Serie A. Refreshing.
You'll love to see that.
All right, we'll keep. Is he going to be one of your ones to watch?
Hey, he's 27, so I'd like to imply that there's an age barrier to the ones
to watch right now, like right now.
Right, like if you're watching this today, watch the next game and see if I'm wrong. But yeah, that's my take. Tramoni also had a good season for him. A little fake Frenchman. His name is very Italian, I imagine. There's some history there we're not going to get into. But, right. Something to keep an eye out on.
Now, Juventus Parma.
Now,
I watched this
respectfully,
game.
I will say very little about this.
I kind of enjoyed watching them. But not really.
Whoa,
it was boring.
The cousins buddying up again. What's new?
Listen, it was boring, but it was exciting to see a new Juve kind of sort of hitting their stride again. Just for the sake of competition in the league. It's like, okay, maybe the league's gonna be like really, really competitive this year.
Yeah, forse.
Because but the thing is, for some reason, I walked out the room. I was probably at the microwave, and when I came back, there was a red card, and Vlahovic scored the second goal in the game. The game ended 2-0 for Juventus. But they finished it with a red card. I'm not sure what happened. I'm pretty sure Cambiaso just got a second yellow.
Oh no, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I believe he punched somebody in the face, if I'm correct.
Are you serious? I go away for 1 minute and he punched someone in the face?
You know what? I'm going to double check that because that is such an inflammatory statement, but I'm pretty sure. So keep talking about that game and I'm going to confirm that factoid.
The bright spot of this game was Yildiz because he assisted both the goals. He is that, I guess, creativity that this team so desperately needs. Everything sort of played through him. Conceição was great. He had a few opportunities, great runs, and he looked also. This Juve team looked pretty sharp in general. You could tell that having Bremer back was good. Even Lloyd Kelly played great. But the talking point that's going to hit a lot of the media is Jonathan David scoring on his debut. He was not that involved for most of the game, but once he started figuring out the pace of the game, and he sort of just clicked. He sort of figured it out, making the runs.
Yeah, upset about that signing, let me tell you. He's been linked to Inter for an eternity, and his agent fees were high, obviously, considering he was a free transfer. But I think for Juve, considering the dire state of strikers and the situation surrounding those, which will be covered later in a different episode, not a bad signing, good pickup overall. And I can confirm that Cambiaso did punch somebody in the face. That is true. It was the right back of Parma. What is this? Matthias. Yeah.
Lovely?
yeah, there you go. So.
Bro, did he really get under his skin like that?
I think there was a 50-50 ball, and he shoved him to the ground and then hit him. So, in good news, he'll be banned against Inter. Forza Inter. So.
All right. Well, I'm not mad because this has nothing to do with me.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's him problem.
Parma, though, I'm concerned for Parma. Not to speak about this game, I think they've produced some fantastic players. Obviously, a bunch left this summer, as we know, Leoni, Boni, and Som. However, some other names to keep an eye out for are Bernabe, I don't know. He's very good. And Keita as well. He also was linked to Inter. Pellegrino. Now this guy is sensational. I'm telling you. Last season,
no one cares. No one cares. Everyone cares about Zion Suzuki. That's what everyone
Suzuki's
cares about.
Cool and all, but you gotta keep an eye out on this kid. He's promising.
The black Japanese goalkeeper in Serie A. He is probably the most exciting thing happening in this league.
Well, from a goalkeeping standpoint, I don't know, but I think he's cool. I think he's a great player. I think there's a lot
He's
of really young, interesting talent. I think Del Prato, he's not too young anymore, but he's also a great player.
Del Prato is probably their best player.
Now,
He is the
Carlos
captain.
Cuesta, now isn't he a disciple of Arteta, if I'm correct, or something like that?
I'm not familiar with him. Oh, he's a very young manager.
Super young. He's 30.
Yeah,
Brother should be
yeah.
playing.
He just
but-
started. Oh, he had an interesting story. My understanding was he's from Spain, and so he got the job just working his way up, doing just cold calling, sending emails. He like went on LinkedIn, looked up every person who had Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid in like their LinkedIn profile, and emailed him until he finally got some kind of like coaching gig, and just eventually worked his way up.
Yeah, I mean, considering that in this job market,
In this economy, bro.
in this economy, I respect
You
that.
gotta do that. You gotta do that sometimes.
I get it. I think I was equally as annoying to get the job that I have now. So, that being said, young guy, absolutely nothing to go off of. We'll see. But yeah, he played. We expected him to play, I guess, a bit more of attacking football, but overall, extremely defensive. And we'll see how Parma develops. Obviously, against the Juve, you can't judge too hard. I love that Yildiz got 2 assists. Not that I love Yildiz, but I think he's a great talent. Not someone you want to lose in Serie A. At 20 years of age, such a bright spot. Him and Paz, I will say. 2 of these young guys that are... He's not in Serie A, though, now. But
Yeah, but he's in that
fellow
same category.
Turkish baller, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If you're a Turkey fan, I'm not going to make too many comments, but you guys have some future. You have some future. Oh,
All right.
Conceição, great player too. Just to put that out there.
Yeah. Udinese, Hellas Verona. Did
Now-
you catch this one?
I think so. I think I saw a little bit of it. I got to be honest though. I'm sure I was doing something else. Let me see if anything. Oh yes, Christensen, 23-year-old center back. He scored the goal. I actually thought he played a pretty solid game. Besides the goal, somebody very interesting. Sule. Now this center back. To avoid legal issues, he is currently under investigation for some things, and we're just going to leave it there. But that being said, he's been linked to a lot of clubs, so, it's hard to say if he'll stay, depending on how this court ruling goes and all that. So, very great player on the field. I'm not going to speak about him off the field. That being said, Bertola, also young Italian center back, came from Serie A B. From Spezia. Great option to have. A little surprised that they gave him the start, but considering the lack of options, not against it. Igor Bravo, didn't see too much from him, but he's been given a lot of trust by Udinese, so I would expect something from him. Overall, from Udinese, though, very solid. Defensively, I wouldn't expect much going forward. This Giovanni Nascimento guy on Verona, he has an assist from this game, highly rated. I was on Twitter this week and people were raving about him. So
the game ended 1-1 for listeners who didn't know, and it was actually mainly Udinese dominating with what looks like a majority of the possession.
Sure,
and
heavily
with high momentum bars, and it's crazy because Udinese Hellas Verona only needed just that small opportunity. They had a few amount of shots, but they only also had one big chance and they scored from it, and that was basically the peak of their momentum. They had a little bit at the very beginning of the game and not much at all after that, but they managed to score for a small period of time, and that was all they needed.
Yeah, and I think when speaking about these, not lower level to disrespect these clubs, because I'm sure the Verona fan base would find me and execute me considering their history. Not much can be said when it's these 1-1s, 0-0s against these lower oppositions, considering that we're more than likely not going to tune into these super regularly unless there's players we're trying to watch. So be aware of that in the future.
And now, the final game of this match, week 1.
Yes.
Inter versus Torino. Inter absolutely rinsed Torino 5-0. Joe, I'll let you take over. I'll just say my piece that Torino's a bottom half team anyway, so this was expected.
Just to provide the people some entertainment, you say bottom half team expected win. What is Cremonese then? if not a lower than bottom half of the table team.
Listen. Milan are in a different place. We don't make it to the finals. You do. The only difference is you embarrass yourself in the final. We just won't make it there.
I think we'll
save the time.
Sure, and I think to make a small comment about this game, it's poetic. You lose to PSG 5-0, and I think considering Inter was coming into a very difficult situation, Inzaghi leaving, I think we could do a whole episode about, and maybe we will consider doing something when we do these transfer market highlights. So to avoid beating a future dead horse, we'll preserve that conversation for a different day. But Kivu, the Elmo di Kivu, as they're calling him, right? Mr. Helmet. I am excited from what I saw today. He spoke about this, and we only got a few games of him in the Club World Cup, which wasn't enough to judge a man off of, and clearly not even one game in Serie A, because this is a staggering victory for Inter. I mean, Bastoni led us off with a great goal, incredible header. You'll love to see it. Barella with an assist there. And to just kind of skip a bit ahead while we're on Barella, overall from him, good game. There was a series of passes he heavily messed up, and I had notes on this, but I guess I didn't write it down. But he did give up about, 4 or 5 passes in a row. And then Sukic. This guy, oh my God, I'm so excited. He played a beautiful ball with Thuram.
The new Modric.
He might be the new Modric. And I was saying this a few weeks ago, partially sarcastically, but now I kind of am starting to believe it, which is great. He can press amazingly. He's great at moving the ball forward. And I didn't know if he was going to be CDM or if he was going to be a Mezzala, but I think what we've seen today is he's more of a Mezzala. And, I'm sure he could take the place of Mkhitaryan, and when Hakan is not suspended, I believe he was suspended for this game, or, whatever's happening with the whole Hakan thing, we can worry about that later. But I believe that was a great pickup from Inter for like 12.5 million, very minimal. Latoro got a goal, no assists to mention there. High press from him. He got the goal there. Thuram won a header, and of course, he looks to his brother and his father who are watching. He points to his head saying, hey, you and I can score those too, which you would hope at 6'4", that would be a bit more of a thing from him. But, not to rag on the guy. Bastoni, great game, played an incredible cross in for Thuram's header. Overall, great game by Inter, very promising. It's very interesting. It was a much more direct, very high press, and I was excited to see that with Kivu, because I didn't know what kind of manager we were going to get, considering he came from a relegation team. But I believe he's going to take what Inzaghi has left behind, whether that be from a personnel standpoint or from a tactical standpoint. I think it's going to be very similar to last year, but with more intensity. I think last year when Inter would lose the ball, some players would chase it, others wouldn't. Now there seems to be a much more organized effort to retrieve the ball back and hold it, and I love that from Kivu. Set pieces were very important for us today, and I think considering Inter in general, set pieces are a thing that they prioritize and specialize in, so expect more of those to come into the future. Overall, to keep it short here because we are running heavily on time, great from Inter, excited for more. Now, to speak just a little bit about Torino, this was a real battle of the X's type of situation. You have Beraghi, Lazzaro, Casede, and recently signing for them now is Aslani, 4 former Inter players. And if we know anything about Inter, they love a goal of the X's, as they say. So I don't think it's a bad team. I think they have a solid lineup there. Obviously, this was a rough start for them. Marco Baroni coming from Lazio could not cope. So, don't want to make too many conclusions about Torino. They didn't look good. I don't think they're going to get relegated, but I don't think they're looking as hot as they were in the past few years. So, something to keep an eye on. Thank you, everybody, for watching this week's episode. Please stay tuned for match week number 2.